In your original sneaker design, you're going to open up Illustrator. You're going to go to File and New. You're going to make sure it's tabloid size, and you have a choice here of either making it vertical or horizontal. I would select the horizontal and then click OK. Once you're there, you're going to have your black line drawing already scanned and put in your folder. So you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Place. Once there, you're going to find the image. Yours is going to be in your folder. I put mine on my desktop just for the purpose of this tutorial, so I'm just going to put this in here like that. Now when you first get it in, it might be really big, so all you have to do is zoom out, Command minus, hold the black arrow, Shift and Option, pull from the corner, make it small enough to fit on the artboard, click open up your layers, click and open up your transparency. Have both of those open for the time being. I would also open up swatches because you are going to use that. And I think that's all the ones you'll need for now. Now, I'm going to click on the picture that I just placed in. There it is on this layer. I'm going to bring down the opacity, maybe to a 50 or so. Make it nice and light. Lock that layer by hitting the lock button on the layers. Add a new layer by hitting the new layer button. On layer 2 now, you could even double click and call it, outlines or shapes or any of that kind of thing would be fine, because that's where you're actually going to draw. Then you're going to do one piece at a time. You're going to zoom in and actually draw the sneaker. So I'll give you an example here. I'm going to zoom in on this portion of the sneaker. The best thing to use is the pen tool for this project, but if you have trouble using the pen tool, I'll give you one other option. So if I'm going to try the first one here, pen tool, make sure that your fill is nothing for the time being. You could always fill it later, and your stroke is going to be black for now. So I'm going to make this shape here. Now remember, all your shapes must close up. So I'm going to start right here, click and pull, go to here, because you can see it dips, so I can go about the middle of the curve, or I can go even all the way to the end of the curve to get it kind of right. Now I'm going to follow it a little better. I'm going to go right about here. There we go. Come to about here. Now I'm pulling, but I need to come down, so I'm going to hold Option and tell it where I want to go. I'm going to come down. There it is. I let go of Option. Option again. I can pull probably to all the way about here now. Option again. Now I could come back around, but I'm just going to connect it. All right, so there's one shape. I'm going to click Command and click away. Now there's this other shape that goes over the top, so I'm just going to do that shape now. Click and pull, click and pull, pull, click and pull, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to hold Option when I get back to that first dot right there. Okay, so we got those two pieces. So now, and you'll also notice that there's these little holes here. Now for those, I could use the pen tool and do this, and that would be fine. Or you can use tools you already know, like the basic shape tools that we started with at the beginning of Illustrator, like Ellipse, and I can just go click and pull. I can hold Shift, and if I get one, I could always take the tool right, and I could do copy and paste, so I have another one, and then I could just move them. Or I could hold Option right, there you go, and just move them like this. Got it? So now, I would select this one, give it a fill color. Select this one, give it we'll make it green so you can see the difference. See, it's over the top of it. Now, if for some reason that this was on top, you would just click on it, right click, arrange, send to back. All these other little holes that are here, you can click on them, make them whatever color you'd like. Make it a little darker, something like that. Nice and clean, all the lines to match up. If any of your lines are messed up, take your direct selection tool, literally click on the line, move the point wherever you need so that it's nice and clean. All your lines should connect nice and clean. From far away, it's going to look beautiful later. When you take this off, you're going to have this beautiful kind of look. The second option is using the pencil tool, not the brush, but the pencil tool. So the same concept. You're going to start with no fill, black stroke, and we'll do I don't know, we'll do a section over here as an example. Okay, you could click, you have to drag, and then back to where you started, hold Option, and it creates the shape. Now you can see it's a little bit bumpy. So right with where the pencil tool is, there is a smooth tool. If you click on the smooth tool, you can literally click and drag. You actually have to hold down the button, click, and move the mouse. And you'll see the more you do it, the more it kind of smooths out that line a little bit. You go right over the line, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. When you first use that smooth tool, or even the pencil tool, if you double click it, you'll get this option that comes up. I typically put smoothness at about a 2 and fidelity at about a 1. So we'll draw it again and you'll see the difference because I just changed those options. Back to where I started, hold Option. A little bit smoother. Take that smooth tool again. Smooth it out, smooth it out, smooth it out, smooth it out. And if the smooth tool doesn't do a good enough job, go to the pen tool, go to delete anchor point, and you could probably get rid of a lot of these anchor points to smooth out your line. You see how smooth it becomes now that I'm getting rid of all these anchor points? Every time there's a point, it's going to make a bump in the line. So the less points, the less bumps. Right? So that looks like a much better shape, and you could always take your convert point tool, grab a little handlebar, move it just right. You can take the white arrow, move the individual piece anywhere you want until you get the look that you're looking for. Okay? All right, now the last two pieces on here are going to be not just coloring, but gradients and those lines that you sometimes see as stitching. So for example here, I'm going to make a stitching line. I'm going to take my pen tool to do it. I'm going to do no fill. I'm going to do black stroke. And I'm going to do this stitch that goes here. I'm going to go click, pull, come to here, click and pull. And then I'm not going to click anymore because that's just a line, but we got to change it into a dash line. So if you open up all of your panel options here, you'll see a stroke as one of them. Now you see the little dash button here. As soon as you hit dash, you see it dashes the line. And then here where it says 12 point, and then you can do a gap of, let's say, 10, and you see what it does? It shifts it, and then I could do 12, and then 10, and you can mess with those numbers to get the kind of look that you're hoping for. All right. So the smaller, obviously, that I make the gap, the tighter they become, and then there's the dash can be different points in between. So you can see what I can do. All right. So you can kind of play with those numbers till you get what you're looking for in terms of your little stitching line. Then when you talk about your pieces that you actually colored so far, you have a couple of options. When you click on it, I have a base color here of red. Now I could copy this. I'm going to do Command C and then Command V. Copy it, and remember where your swatches are. There's all kinds of different colors, gradients, and patterns. So for example, if I went to decorative and I went to classic, up pops all these classic ones. So I could do like this, let's just say, or yeah, I'll keep that. All right, just like that. And then if I move it over the top, back over the red piece, it's the same exact size. See what it does? You see almost like a see-through? Now I would still have to take the green and all of these dots and bring those to the front. You know what I mean? Or grab both of these, right-click, and arrange them to the back so that they're behind it. But you see that nice pattern that goes on? This one that has the pattern on it can be changed at any time, but if you pick something like blue that covers the red, you can still go to transparency here, and you can change your blending mode. And as you change your blending mode, you get all these different looks and styles to it. The last piece is called a gradient mesh, and I'll give you an example here. I'm going to click on the green. I'm going to select a gradient. And actually, you know what? I'm going to make my own gradient. You can select gradients from here, or you can go down to here and go to gradients, right? And choose from any of these different gradients, and then click a gradient, and it would apply that gradient to that piece, which is totally fine. Another way to do it, though, is to start with a basic color, like I have green here, and you're going to go to this tool that says Mesh Tool. And when you click it now, you can go onto this, and you can create lines. And you can click on the lines, you can click on the vertical lines, the horizontal lines, and you can create a mesh that basically looks like it shapes out. I just did it to the ball by accident. The entire piece of whatever you're doing, in this case this big green piece. So for each one of these that I'm making, and I'm making a line there, a line there, a line there, it kind of meshes out almost like in this grid fashion the entire piece. Now once that's done, you see all these little individual points. You can go onto a point, click a point, and then click on a color. So I'll use like red here for an example. And you see that it adds red to that piece. I'm going to undo for a second. I can take the selection tool and hold shift and just grab a bunch of these points. I didn't mean to grab. I'm going to grab this one to show you better. Oh, and you can move them too, like I just did by accident there. But you can. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to zoom in so I can see them a little better. Okay. I'm grabbing all of these points. So I'm grabbing multiple points, although you could do them one at a time. And then I'm going to turn them red. And you see that the way that I just did it there, I went off on the side a little bit here, but so I'm clicking on the piece. You can click on the individual dots, and then you can give them a gradient. So you can customize and make your own gradient by holding Shift, clicking the dots, and then selecting a color, and you'll get this entire, your entirely new thing. Now, also, if you wanted to, you can always go back to a straight color for all of this, like that, without a mesh, of course. You could click on it. You can try one of these gradients, and I'm sorry. Let's go back a few steps here. Like that. So I could choose a gradient like this, or like this, or something. And then from there, I could take the gradient tool. This is another option, and I could decide where this gradient comes from. Like I could do a, where's the gradient? It's gradient here. You can do linear gradient, and then I can pull, this handlebar. I can pull from maybe we go here, and then I rotate it. Maybe we squeeze it down a little bit, and you could always change the colors. Okay. And so anyway, a combination of those tools is what's going to get you what you're looking for. Once you're done with the project, you're going to take off the eyeball of the original layer, and you'll have only what's left over of your shoe. At the very end of the project, you're going to add one more new layer underneath, put it to the background, zoom out a little bit, create a box that covers the entire background. Give it some kind of background color, whatever you'd like it to be. Give your sneaker a name. Use the text tool. So call it, whatever you're going to call it, Shimsky Air Force something or other. Okay. So give it a name. Be something creative, not just what I just did. That wasn't very creative. Okay, but put that on there somewhere. And on the shoe, there should be on this panel. I mean, besides the shoe, there should be some examples of things you use to give yourself inspiration for the sneaker. Give you an example here quickly. A couple of pictures should go on there, kind of looking like this. You'll see in the top corner there's a couple of pictures that show where the inspiration for the sneaker came from. Maybe be some of the leathers and pieces and stuff. Oh, that's one last thing I forgot to show. If you have a pattern of some kind that you'd like to put in the sneaker, not just the kind of patterns that I showed you here. So I'm going to get rid of the yellow for a second. I'm going to put back on this. This is the last piece here. So let's say you make a piece like this, and you want some kind of pattern to go in it. I'm going to fill it with a basic color right now. But let's say you want a pattern you find online to go in there, right? So you go online, and we'll just do it really quick, and we're going to find a leather pattern, or a snake skin, or some kind of a pattern like that, or any other pattern really. You can bring into Illustrator and put it in the same way we did these wavy lines, if it will open for us here. I'm going to type in snakeskin. So you go to snakeskin, right? So let's say we take whichever, this one, okay. So we'll just grab this one. I'm going to click on it. That's fine. We're going to click View Image so the large size of it pops up on the screen. Perfect. And then you drag it to your folder. I'm going to drag mine just to the desktop here. Okay, drag it over. There it is. Now, I go back into Illustrator. I'll close out of Safari. Okay, so once you're back into Illustrator, zoom out a tiny bit. We're going to go to File and Place. We're going to find that pattern, and we're going to put it in. So there's the skin. We're going to hit place. It's probably going to be pretty big when it comes in. There it is. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see. I'm going to move it over to the side over here. All right. And then from here we have a couple of options. If you try to drag it into the swatches, you'll see that it shows up as an additional swatch. So now if I click on the green piece and then I click on this swatch, you see that it adds it to it. The only thing I don't like about it doing that is you see this line here. So it replaces, like if it ends, it does it again. And so I don't like that line necessarily. So I'm going to get kind of rid of that for a moment. The way I would rather do it is take this shape with the group selection tool, the green shape for example, copy and paste it, bring it over here, give it no fill and no stroke. So now it's just a shape. Make sure it's on top, so you go to cut and paste in front so you know it's on top of the snakeskin. Pull it over to the snakeskin, select both of them now, and then do Object, Clipping Mask, Make. You see what happens? It goes right in there. Now what's also nice about this that I happen to like about it is if I click away and I click on just the thing, you can see the box of it still there. So if I wanted to, I could take the black arrow, hold shift, and resize it so I get more in the area like that. I'll help you with this part if you struggle a little bit. Grab the entire piece, bring it back on over, drop it right there, pretty much on top. Looks like it's close. It might be a little tiny bit off. All right, something like that looks good. And now, the other thing you could do is change again either the opacity or the blending mode, and all of a sudden you'll see through it into the green that's underneath it. These little dots that are here, you have to do Command Y, select those individual dots, hold Shift, grab the ones that you actually want to bring to the front, do Command Y again, and then Command X to cut them, Command F to paste them in front. Got the idea? Okay, so that is your sneaker design. Continue with that and you'll have a professional sneaker design.